sometimes when everybody's used to his riwayah, when you give something different from the Quran, it might be kind of different for you, but there's always something different than what you know. And it's there, riwayah mutawatira عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. We continue inshallah the قواعد الفقهية. We started this last time as far as the rules of fiqh, and we said that everything as far as the Islamic sciences and knowledges is based on rules. And we have angles where scholars are even more specialized in, we talk about Quran, for example, there are sub-branches of that knowledge. Fiqh, there are sub-branches of fiqh. So one of the sub-branches of fiqh is studying the rules of al-fiqh. And we talked about the rules of al-fiqh as being أولا الشريعة الله تبارك وتعالى أو خلينا نقول الشريعة عشان تعمل مشاكل يعني. أحكام الإسلام الله تبارك وتعالى يجمع بين الأشياء المتشابهة. Islam is a religion of reasoning. So this religion, you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is revealing it in such a way that you can find similarities between similar things. Similar things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or Islam will give them one and the same judgment. Different things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not bring them together. They would be different because Islam is a religion of reasoning. Because of that, we have some rules where the scholars looked at al-ilal, al-maqasid, the reason behind. You see that happening again and again in similar things. They derive the rules where they will say this rule applies to, generic, applies to a lot of things. And we give examples of umur bil-maqasid. They had things to be judged according to the intention behind them. Being them in salah, being them in siyam, ibadat in general, being them in contracts and what have you. This is a rule that would apply to so many other things. And we differentiated between the rules of الفقه, قواعد الفقه, التي هي أحكام تجمع جزئيات كثيرة تحتها. This is one rule, a rule that will cover so many branches or so many little أحكام under it. One rule will get them all. We differentiated between القاعدة الفقهية and النظرية الفقهية. النظرية الفقهية, which is a theory, is more of a scientific research, where it's more of a modern term that appears with the Qanun al-Hadith, the modern law, kind of law, where they talk about نظرية العقد, نظرية الإثبات, نظرية الإقرار. They talk about theories of the contract, the theory of possession of something, التمليك أو الملك. There is also a difference between القاعدة الفقهية, which is many ahkam, juz'iyat, many branches of fiqh, rules, little rules of fiqh. They will get together because there is something, a bond that gets them together. There is a difference between this qa'idah and qa'idah al-usuliyya. Qa'idah al-usuliyya, which is one way, how do we derive ahkam from al-Quran? How do we use the Quran? How does Quran or Sunnah or any of the other evidences of the Shara, how do they refer to that hukm? So it's more like a tree, big tree. قواعد al-usul, the rules of usul al-fiqh, fundamentals of fiqh, will be like the trunk of the tree. And then قواعد al-fiqh نفسه, or قواعد al-furu', the rules of fiqh, will be like the branches. Branches also can get together with something, or leaves can get together with a branch, little branch. And all of these will get together because of the trunk. مثال, an example for قواعد الأصول is الأمر يفيد الوجوب. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving an order in the Quran, imperative, one form of a verb in Arabic, amr, do that, that means you have to do it. As long as there is no other qarina or pretext or anything like that to refer otherwise. This is a rule, but it's a قاعدة أصولية. It refers to how do we use the Quran. قواعد الفقه, no. Quran applies here, and it looks like consistent. Then there is a rule for that consistency, like al-umur bimaqasidiha, as we said, things are to be judged according to the intention behind it. We also differentiate between al-qa'idah al-fiqhiyya and al-dabit al-fiqhi. A fiqhi rule and a fiqhi, kind of a small kind of regulation or little rule. The difference is both of them are rules, and both of them cover little things under them. But al-dabit al-fiqhi is less, is يجمع فروعا من باب واحد. It is a rule that applies only to one chapter, to one thing in fiqh. Example for al-dabit al-fiqhi, a rule of a fiqh that applies only to one category, only one chapter, أيما إهاب دبغ فقد طهر. Any skin, that's a hadith, any skin that if you die, if it is dyed, it will be pure, clean, you can use it. So that applies obviously not to other things, it just applies to the rules of the skins. And so many other ضوابط like كل ماء مطلق لم يتغير فهو طهور. Any water, as Allah Azza created it, being it whatever it is, as long as it doesn't change, it is tahur, which meaning it's pure and can be used as purifying. Being it salty, the water of the oceans, being it fresh, the water of the rivers, being it from hail, from rain, from whatever, as long as it's water not mixed with anything as Allah created it. This is a rule, but it's ضابط fiqhi. We can't say قاعدة because it applies only to the rule, to al-tahara, to the water, just to one chapter of fiqh, little rule that applies to one thing or applies to one chapter. So many other ضوابط that we can give examples. كل ما صح بيعه صح رهنه. Anything that you can sell, that you can legally sell in Islam, you can put it for mortgage. That's a rule, but it's ضابط. It applies only to al-rahn, to mortgage. So it's a little rule that applies here. But قواعد الفقه, or the rules of fiqh, will be more of an umbrella that will get so many little things under them. We mentioned also that there is a difference between القواعد الفقهية, the rules of fiqh, and الأشباه والنظائر. الأشباه الفقهية are similar rules, things that are similar, مسائل that are similar. There are some similarities between them. But in reality, the similarities between them are much more than the little differences. So they are similar in the majority of the juz'iyat, or the little things. They are, in majority, they are similar. That's why they will take the same rule. That's different from the other term, an-nadha'ir, or counterparts. Things that look similar. But if you really look deeply into them, there are some differences. Actually, differences are more than similarities, and the rule is going to be different. Examples? We mentioned an example last time على الشهادة والرواية. Testimony, giving a testimony, and narrating something from the Prophet ﷺ. Both of them are نقل كلام, or you are giving a testimony, you are transferring some kind of talk that has happened, or I have seen that. But if you look deeply into them, you will see that they are not really similar. There is a lot of differences. If you look at the testimony in front of a court, for example, the number is to be there. Sometimes it's 2. They have to be 2. One person is not enough. Sometimes they have to be 4. But in a riwayah, number is not a matter. If it could be one person, as long as, with the other conditions, he is just, and so on. In some cases, with the shahada, testimony, he should be a male. In some cases, as Allah said in the Quran. In the riwayah, no. Any male or female, as long as he or she is just, can narrate anything for the entire ummah from the Prophet ﷺ. And this is something to think of. Islam really belittled women. Then he wouldn't put a woman to narrate something from the Prophet, which will be a rule for the entire ummah. Along with other differences between the shahada and the so they will become counterparts, and rule will be different for both of them. Another example for al-nadha'ir al-fiqhiyya, things that look similar in the way you look at them, but if you look deeply, they are different. One of them is water. If you look at water, and then you mix different things that are pure. So the water is pure, and then mixing with the water some pure things on one side, and on the other side mixing dust or soil or earth that's also pure with water. If you mix anything, how do you see any difference between them? Water is mixed with juice, so it becomes like yellowish. The color is in such a way that the color becomes different, because if you mix anything with water and it's still, as long as it's a huge amount of water, and you mix it with something, as long as it doesn't change, it's okay. You can use it, you can make wudu with it. But what if it changes? If you keep adding soap, for example, you keep adding anything that changes the color, can you use that water? And it becomes yellow. Juice, for example, juice is water. Juice is 90% or more water, and just has some other ingredients. Can you use juice to make wudu? Let's say you are in the desert and you have juice, a container of juice, and you have to make wudu. And it's 90% water. Can you make wudu with it? Why? Whatever is mixed with it is tahir. But the rule is once the water, it changes, any of the 3 categories of the color, the smell, the taste. If any of that changes, it becomes something else. It's not mutlaq. You cannot use it. But what about dust? If we get soil and mix it with water and it becomes, the color is now brownish, can I still use it? Same thing. What is the difference? There is a difference. Yes, you still can use it. The difference is, both of them, water is pure, tahirun mutahhir. It's pure and it can be used for wudu, to make you ready for salah, to make you lift a najasa, impurity, in case you got impurity in your body. Same applies for dust. In case you do not have water, you can still make wudu, which is tahara, purity, with dust. So if you mix something that's pure and purifying with something that's pure in Islam and purifying, mix them together, where is the najasa coming from? So there is a difference between dust and other items, as long as they are pure and everything. But there is a difference, because in reality dust is giving a special rule that it can purify, and it is هذه من النظائر الفقهية. And there is a special subcategory is looking at that, علم الفروق الفقهية. Why dust is different from other things? It's because of 1, 2, 3, as we mentioned now. Give you a couple of examples. الوديعة واللقطة, deposit. If you give a deposit to somebody, I'm traveling overseas and I have some money, can you keep it for me? That's called a deposit. So I'm depositing, and المودع وهو المودع. So I'm the depositing person. I give him a deposit to hold it for me على سبيل الأمانة, just to keep it, as أمانة or as a trust, and give it back to me as when I come. Versus Usaylim is walking outside the masjid or something, and he found a wallet. What is it called in Islam? Full of money and everything. That's luqata. No, that's not wadi'a. What I give him is wadi'a, trust. What he found in the street is luqata. Now, does the same rules apply to both of them? Are they equal? In one, let me give you an example. I give him $1,000 as an example to keep with him. Can he go to Luqman and say, Luqman, you know what, without darura, without any necessity, and say, Luqman, you know what, can you just hold this for Sheikh Amr until he comes? Versus, can he take the wallet and say, Luqman, can you keep that with you? Do you see any difference? There's a difference? There is a difference. They look the same. Both of them is malun lil ghayr. Both of them are money that does not belong to you, belongs to someone else. But there is a difference in between them. The difference is, wadi'a, when I deposited him something, I did not choose Luqman. I was able to choose this or that. I choose him, and he accepted. I choose him to give him this as a trust, and he accepted. So he cannot break that without my permission and go give it to someone else. But in a luqata, in something lost and found, he found in the street, he can't actually do that. Why? Because he's not agreeing with anybody, and now the goal is what? The goal is to keep it, to protect it. And as long as there's one condition, as long as he give it to somebody who is similar to him in amana, he can't give it to somebody who is lower than him in amana, because the goal is still met, which is to give it to somebody to keep it. That's what the lost and found, different from wadi'a. So both of them are nada'ir fiqhiyya. Examples, other examples for that is nikah and raj'a, marriage. And if somebody divorced and within the period of iddah, he gets back his wife. There is differences between them. In nikah, you have to give mahr. There should be a wali, 2 witnesses. But if somebody divorces, first or second, and within the period of iddah, he decides to bring back his wife, he doesn't have to get wali, he doesn't have to get shuhud. Both of them are getting into marriage somehow, but there is difference between them. We have other examples, sujood sahw or sujood al-tilawa, making sujood for forgetfulness in prayer. If you forget something in salah, and making sujood because you come across one ayah. They look the same, sujood and sujood, but no, they have different rules, and there are differences between them. Sujood al-sahw is 2 in the number. Sujood al-tilawa is 1. Sujood al-sahw, you make it at a certain place after you finish the salah. After or before, difference anyway, but at the end of the salah, towards the end of the salah. Sujood al-tilawa, no, it's not, once you hear the ayah, it could be you or someone else. So there are some differences between them. I summarize by saying that al-qawa'id al-fiqhiyya, the rules of fiqh, look at different and little things in there, and they are consistent. They look similar, they are consistent. What is the thing that gets all of them together? Give you one rule in there. Al-furuq al-fiqhiyya is the opposite. It looks at things that look similar, but there are differences between them, and they look at the differences, and one knowledge is looking into that. I give you a couple of examples for al-qawa'id al-fiqhiyya before I conclude. الأصل بقاء ما كان على ما كان، أو بعبارة أخرى اليقين لا يزول بالشك. The default case, a rule that can be considered as the default case, stays as is. If you have a doubt cannot remove certainty. So you are certain about something, you cannot move this certainty unless you have another certainty equal to it or stronger than it. You cannot remove it by doubt. This is قاعدة فقهية that applies to many things. Give you a couple of examples that it can apply to. If somebody has a doubt in Salah about the number of the rak'ah, he should go by saying, I'm sure I prayed 2 rak'ah, but did I pray 3 or 4? No. You know, go for the lower number. I have to make up 5 days. I missed 5 days in Ramadan. I was traveling, and let's say 27 days or something. Because 5, maybe it's not going to be a problem for you. But let's say 20 days, and now I fasted for like 15 or 16. So I'm sure I fasted 15, but 16 was there or not? There's a doubt. No. Al-aslu baqat ma kana. I'm sure about that, and I have a doubt regarding the 16. Put it aside. Somebody owes me money. I'm a businessman, big businessman, and I give that, I give this, and I didn't write it down. Did Usayrim owe me money or not? What will be the case? Does he owe me in this case? I have a doubt now. Does he owe me anything? No. Why? The default case is that he doesn't owe me anything. I have to prove it. I have to have certainty or yaqeen. So that's other than the $1,000. You have to give it back to me. Wadi'a deposit. So jazakumullah khairan wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad.
There's also a special case for the wadi'a.